I grew up in Pennsylvania. I always was going down the chef cook route. That's all I ever wanted to do. So I started working in kitchens when I was 14. I started working at a bakery, and I was working all through high school. And then I went to the Culinary Institute of America, which is like a high-level cooking school in New York. I quit that after a few months. I didn't like it very much, and then I just moved to New York City and started working in fine dining restaurants. And from there, went to Chicago, worked at more fine dining, and then from there to Vietnam.
Wow. And so did you move to Vietnam because of the culinary scene?
Yeah, I moved to Vietnam because I wanted to eat street food. It was as simple as that. I just want to eat street food, so I
Sure.
bought a plane ticket and came. That was it.
But I mean, like, I mean, you could go to Thailand and eat street food, or the Philippines, or Indonesia. How did you decide on Vietnam specifically?
Well, at that time, those countries weren't really seen on TV. Like I didn't know. I'm a kid at that point, and so it was really Anthony Bourdain coming to eat street food. I saw that on
Ah,
TV. There was nobody shooting content about the Philippines or Thailand that I was observing. So this was the kind of first sighting of street food, and I was like, okay, that's the place. Go there.
interesting. Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, Anthony Bourdain aside, Vietnamese food is also pretty exportable, right? There's Vietnamese restaurants all over the place here in North America. So that
Yeah.
also helps to kind of create a connection, I guess, with the food anyway, and maybe a little bit of the culture.
Yeah,
So,
that's definitely true.
yeah. So then that first trip that you went on to Vietnam, like how long were you there for?
I stayed for a year, I think. I
On your
stayed
first
for a
trip?
year. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. You just
I
jumped
bought a
right in.
Yeah, yeah. I bought a plane ticket to move. Like I was there.
Okay.
My
Wow.
intention was to live in Vietnam for a year, and then I was going to go to China for a year, and then go to India for a year. That was my thought process.
Okay.
And after the first year in Vietnam, I went back to America just for Christmas, just for two or 3 weeks. And when I thought I was going to, I had a girlfriend at the time, and I thought I was going to fly back to Vietnam and then from there go to China. I was like, let me just go see her and then go to China. And once I got to Vietnam, I was like, I just don't want to leave. It's cool. Let me just
Yeah.
keep staying. And that's it. I just never left. I still find it exciting and haven't felt like the desire to really shift or jump.
I mean, that's a pretty ambitious thing to do, though. To just kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
uproot
yeah,
your life and say, I'm going to spend years abroad, a year in
yeah,
Vietnam and then India and like all over the place. Like, did
yeah.
that seem like it was a crazy thing to do at the time? Or have you always been an internationally minded person or?
I've always been a jumper. It wasn't about thought of international. It was just the thought of jumping and the thought of becoming the best cook I could be. Because I had the impression and just the reality that the more techniques you learn, the more comfortable you are with different ingredients, the better you are. So I thought I would go to these different places and kind of think of them as almost like culinary school, going
It
from
was
one
like
place to the next.
professional development, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were going to pad your resume, your portfolio, learn about other
Yeah, I mean,
ingredients.
I wouldn't say resume. It was just my skill set. I just and it wasn't like the desire to build my professional portfolio. It was just the excitement of learning more than anything else.
Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of a unique way to come at it. Like we all travel for different reasons. One of my reasons is languages. I love languages. And so going to a country where they speak a different language is exciting to me. But of course, there's all different ways you can come at that. And culinary is one that I never really thought about, because I'm not
Yeah,
good at cooking. I'm not in
yeah,
that world at all. But that
yeah.
makes sense. You can go to another country and then learn how that cuisine works. So did you have like things set up, like internships or jobs or anything ahead of
I
time?
had Yeah, I when I worked in Chicago, I worked next to another cook who worked in Vietnam. So I kind of that made it seem more plausible, and I had a job interview lined up through him where he used to work. So the day I landed, actually the day after I landed, I had a job interview at this spot.
Wow, all
But
jet
I was
lagged.
Yeah, actually, I was just so excited. Like jet lag wasn't even a thing. I was so excited. I came with like I had a silly mindset. This is actually not true, but in my mind, it was always I have the ability to cook. So no matter where I am in the world, I could do it. Like if I just show up in the back of a kitchen and knock on the back door and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." If you go to any Western country or more modern country, you can totally get a job anywhere. Here, it would be harder because maybe I could get a job, but I might just be getting $1.50 an hour. You know, like I didn't know all that before I got here, and luckily everything worked out for me. I wasn't banging on doors. But that is something that as a cook, you kind of have a certain confidence that you can go anywhere and get a job. And it is true. You might not get paid a lot. That's all.
Right. You're saying that it's like a transferable skill in different countries, but you might have to start at the bottom and like work your way up. And is it a competitive industry in Vietnam working as a cook?
Yeah, it's highly competitive, but I mean, there's always a position open because it's very hard to keep people. Every kitchen is always looking for staff every day of the week, every year, always. Every kitchen needs staff. So if you are skilled, you can get a job anywhere.
Why are they always looking for staff?
Because it's very hard to find good people. And it's also you're always at the point where if you overhire, you're losing money. And if you're understaffed, then you're just struggling hard. So there's always this balancing act, just trying to find the exact amount of people you need. And no one ever hits that. And even if they have the perfect team, 2 weeks later, somebody quits and then they're dead. And then you need somebody immediately.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
Kind of a fine line, a bit of a balance to strike. So you were there for a year on your first trip, a year straight. And where was that in Vietnam that you first arrived?
In Saigon, in Ho Chi Minh City.
Saigon. Okay. And so how was that? Like what were some of your experiences when you first arrived? Was it a shock for you? Was it different than you were expecting?
It felt like a different planet.
Right.
I worked at some of the best restaurants in America. I worked at a restaurant in Chicago called Alenia, which at the time was the #1 restaurant in the country. Wow. So my whole focus, my entire goals in life were just to be the best chef on the planet. That's what I wanted to do when I was younger. So I always tried to work the best places I could. And I went from that restaurant where it really is as good as you can get, really. And like every night we're cleaning for 3 hours after the shift just to have the kitchen spotless, to then coming to, I'm on the street and I'm seeing raw pork on a piece of cardboard in the sun. And I'm like, oh, what? You can't do that. But that's what they do. And then, so all the different food safety training that I did my whole life at that point all the rules were basically broken here. And that was just so shocking for me to see. And then to eventually come to realize that a lot of it's just okay. Like, it's okay. I don't want to eat raw pork that's been sitting in the sun for 24 hours, but sitting in the sun for 2 or 3 hours, it's okay. It's no problem.
Right. You have to be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that is a tricky process when you go to a different country, because all of us have the mentality that we grew up with, right? Our home home culture, our families, a combination of things. And so we think that the way that we do it is the right way to do it. Otherwise, why would we do it that way?
Right.
Of course, that's just how it is. And then when you go to a different country, it can be kind of a rude awakening that, oh my God, like the rest of the world, or at least this country, might do it in a different way. And that feels wrong to me. And so like, you have to come to terms with the fact that it's not wrong. It's just different. But that can be a painful process sometimes. Yeah. In your mind, you're like, oh, if you just did it this way, it would be better or something, you know?
Sometimes it is wrong, though. Sometimes it's wrong. And sometimes in your home country, it's wrong. And you see the right way to do it over here. It's like going to a dramatically different place completely separates you from your comfort zone. And then you're able to look at your old place and your new place from the outside perspective. I think it's very helpful, very eye-opening for a lot of different situations.
Yeah, you can kind of look at it a little bit more objectively then and decide what things you want to take and what things you want to leave. I guess maybe I wouldn't say that it's ever wrong, but maybe it's just like it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. Maybe is a different way of saying it.
There's some things that are wrong. There's some things that are there are literal food safety things that are just wrong but are done that way because they have no other option.
Sure.
It's just what they have.
Because it's always like in context, right? Like there's always like some other information that comes at play, and probably in North America, we probably have too many safety rules that get in the way of how businesses function, right?
Yes, 100%.
And so it's like, well, we're very safe, and maybe the kitchen's a little bit cleaner, but these other things get in the way of how business is done. And then you could say, well, and maybe in Vietnam, it's not quite as clean, but things are faster, it's more efficient, they can work, they don't have to worry about the red tape. And so, yeah, it's never like completely out of context. You always have to see it in the world that it exists in, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So the food safety is a little bit different. What were some other differences that you noticed when you first got to Vietnam?
I mean, culturally, it was dramatically different. I came from, so as I said, the restaurants I'm working at before, basically everyone's in charge of a station, and then you get a prep list and you bang it out, you handle it. But in Vietnam, I came in as the chef of this new kitchen, and I tried to do it the way that I've always done it, or the team works the way the team works, and that did not work at all. The staff at that restaurant, if I tried to assign individual tasks to everybody, it just didn't work. So eventually, I fought this. It takes a long time to accept the reality, but they just worked better as a group. So it worked better if there was 3 or 4 people that tackled one project and then they all moved over to the next project, as opposed to splitting everything up individually. And that's just this like individual westernized culture to the more group-centered Asian culture. And that's shocking. Maybe you hear about that, but when you really come to experience it, it's just so different.
Yeah, that idea of like collectivist versus individualistic is very interesting. I mean, that comes up in like literally every episode of this podcast that I do.
Yeah.
It's like the sliding scale of how individualistic versus collectivist you are, and then the country you go to, how does it compare? So like, does that also represent the culture in Vietnam outside of the workplace in terms of doing things together as opposed to apart?
Very much.
Right. And so then what's the American mentality then? What's the alternative to that, or the other side of the sliding scale, we could say?
It would kind of be like, F you, I don't need your help.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I can handle this by myself.
Rugged independence.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is great and bad. And the collective is great and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can handle something by yourself, it's good. But if you do need people and you're going to be too stubborn to admit it or work with people, that's bad. So it's good to be able to pick and choose the appropriate energy or action depending on the situation.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you kind of jumped into the deep end a little bit.
Oh yeah, hardcore.
Because like when you work a job in a different country, I mean, you're exposed to all different levels of society, right? Now you got a boss, you got coworkers, you got a schedule to follow, and there's all kinds of social norms that come with that too. Like, because a lot of people will go to another country, have a cultural exchange, but they're just like living in an Airbnb. So their exchange is just like going out and buying food at the grocery store, like going to a street market, not clocking into a 9-to-5 job from the second day that you arrive, doing a job interview, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, that sounds like a little bit overwhelming. Was it?
Yes, it was extremely difficult. And even I walked in as the chef of this kitchen. So I'm the new chef of this kitchen because I came from such a fancy restaurant in America. And there was already chefs in that kitchen. So kitchens don't work like that. There's one leader, but this place had like more than one chef. I was walking in as the new head chef, and I was also the youngest of all the chefs. So now I'm this young guy coming in trying to tell the older guys, how do we do this? What do we do? Hey, after we're done work, we got to stay and clean up. And then there was like a mutiny. Then there was like all these older Vietnamese guys didn't like this new young kid coming in and telling what to do. Yeah, so it was quite dramatic.
Sure. I mean, we literally have an expression that's too many cooks in the kitchen, right?
Yes.
Like that's literally an expression that we have in English. And so then how did that work? Like where did you end up in terms of compromising between the two different points of view? Or was there a compromise?
At that point, the owner of the restaurant was more on my side. He was excited about my history and the skill set I had. So he basically told the other guys, like, it is this way or not. Like Chad's the chef here, so you can either handle it or leave. And so there was a lot of, I mean, the compromising for me is I definitely changed the strictness that I had. I tried to bring all the food level that I knew into this new environment where these 15 cooks that are in the kitchen had never experienced anything like this before, the way that I work or the way that I did work. So I definitely lowered my bar a little bit to try to meet everybody in the middle. And I didn't want anyone pissed at me. I was very young. I was 21. Um, so I was trying to get along, but I did have the owner of the restaurant kind of on my side. So it gave me a little bit more, um, I don't know, just confidence that I could try to do things or push in a way I wanted to push. But every time I pushed, I always had a backlash every time I tried to push harder or move forward.
That makes things hard. Yeah. Anytime you bring a couple of cultures together, things are complicated.
Yeah.
They're never as simple as the alternative. I mean, you also weren't really looking for a cultural exchange, right? You were looking to work with different ingredients and cook different foods. But like, was the cultural part like on your radar before you arrived?
Not. It was more just about tasting. That's what was exciting to me. I just wanted to taste things. I was open to the cultural part. I was excited to be a foreigner. I was excited to explore and be like an adventurer in a new land. That part is all exciting to me. But really, I was driven by the cook inside of me just trying to taste everything and understand.